when it comes to pundits who are promoting these kind of metals, they like to refer to history of money. And one of the most important histories of money is in regards to the Germany hyperinflation, the Weimar Republic. This is one of the most quoted. It's actually one of the most significant hyperinflations ever to study. But the problem is that I don't think the information that we're getting is complete or analyzed correctly. And the conclusions, I think, are faulty that we hear, because the people giving the conclusion, their conclusion is buy silver. So they weave that into the Germany hyperinflation thing. And of course, during the Germany hyperinflation, having this was so much more preferable than so many other things, right? So yes, during the German hyperinflation, this thing was so much better than the, quote, paper promises, yes. But let me talk about what happened. As far as the new currency goes, it was not related to this. So, using the search engine and the usual generic sites like Wikipedia, I found a sentence on this about the stabilization after that hyperinflation in Germany. And it says here, the usual explanation was that the Rentenmarks were issued in a fixed amount and were backed by hard assets such as agricultural land and industrial assets. Originally, what I had read was that after the German hyperinflation, the new currency system was based upon things like land. So the people didn't run back to gold for money. They didn't run back to silver for money. They issued more pieces of paper. So after the German hyperinflation, which was paper, they issued more paper, and yet it was accepted and used. So that kind of throws a big hole in this thing about after the hyperinflation, everybody runs to gold and silver. Well, during the hyperinflation, yeah, you run to gold and silver, but the new currency was also paper, although it was indexed or backed by things. So let me continue. When it says the usual explanation was that it was backed by hard assets like land and industrial assets, but what happened was more complex than that, as summarized in the following description. In August of 1923, Karl Helfenreich, probably saying that wrong, Helfenreich proposed a plan to issue a new currency backed by mortgage bonds indexed to market prices in paper marks of rye grain. His plan was rejected because the greatly fluctuating price of rye in paper markets. That's right, they didn't want to have their currency fluctuate with the rye markets. The agricultural minister, Hans Luther, proposed a different plan, which submitted gold for rye new currency, the Rentenmark, backed by bonds indexed to market prices in paper marks of gold. And the new currency was not redeemable in gold, but was only indexed to gold bonds. So there was gold. Gold had a role in the new system, but it was a currency indexed to gold bonds, and the people were not using gold as currency. They had to use these pieces of paper instead. So they still went back to a, quote, paper currency that did have a gold aspect to it. So originally they said, let's go with rye. And they're like, well, the price of rye fluctuates too much. Well, let's go with gold. Well, we're not going to use the gold, but we'll have a gold bond, and we'll index the currency to the gold bond. And there is no silver involved with this new currency standard. So interesting stuff. Now, as far as using pieces of paper for promises, here is an example. Every single paycheck issued has gone to zero. Every one of them. Every paycheck that you've ever had, every paycheck that every human being on the planet has gone to zero. So therefore, you should never accept these paper promises from your employer's paychecks. Don't do it. No. Well, actually, this is the reality. Well, every paycheck I have had has gone to zero. It's because I cashed them in. I've had a 100% success rate with paychecks. I've never ever had a bounce paycheck, and I've been getting paycheck. I've had decades of paycheck experience, and not a single one had gone to zero until after I cashed it in. I get the paycheck, I cash it in, it goes to zero. Will I still accept paychecks? Well, I have a 100% success rate in my paychecks being able to be cashed in. So with paper promises, yes, all paper promises go to zero. But that's not what matters. What matters is when you get the paper promise, is your paper promise satisfied? That's what matters. So yes, not every currency has gone to zero, but like for example, the greenback, even though it went to zero, the people who held them were able to cash them in first before they went to zero. Tally sticks, even though the monetary value went to zero, everybody who held a tally stick was able to cash it in. So for them, it didn't go to zero. They were able to convert it. Actually, someone left a comment saying how, you know, you can't compare tally sticks to paper currency because tally sticks are wood and paper is paper and tally. But paper is made out of wood pulp. So paper and tally sticks have the same molecular component, the wood molecule. I was being funny there on the wood molecule. That was a joke. But anyhow, what really matters for you is if you are given a promise, whether it's a paper promise, a wood stick promise or something, what matters for you is whether or not that promise, you can cash it in. And once the thing is cashed in, it's gone. It's like an expired contract. In business, they write contracts all the time. And the contract expires and then it's worthless, but that's not what matters. What matters was the contract good before it had been exercised. That's what matters. So when it comes to a lot of these theories, when the price of silver was going up a few years ago, I was giving a lot more leeway to a lot of the people who were talking about silver because a lot of them were early adopters, and that really impressed me. They had some foresight or something to become an early adopter in silver. But then when the price pulled back, and if they didn't change their tune, I was more scrutinizing stuff. But what it turns out is that most people in the marketplace, they kind of respond to this. Here, I'm gonna play for you. I'm gonna show you like a really important. This is kind of how it really works with most people, right? People like ideology, but this is how it really works. All right, let's see if I can get my.
I got a bunch of money too.
Oh, I like money. Yeah. I like money, though. I like money. I like money.
I like money.
Can't believe you like money, too.
Yeah, well...
I got a bunch of money.
When it comes down to it, right? I like money, right? And, you know, I like the whole ideology about, our theory about what should be money. But the fact of the matter is, I like money, and I don't like having less of it. And if your purchasing power, if you lose half your purchasing power, you have, quote, you have like half the purchasing power you had before. And I don't like that because I have to admit that I like money. I don't love money. I like money.